All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to The Scene Live, the show for entrepreneurs who are ready to stop being the best kept secret in their industry and start getting noticed for the work they actually do. I'm your host, Kim Speed, brand clarity coach and founder of Purple Moon Creative. And every week I bring you real conversations with real entrepreneurs and experts who are out there doing the work so you can learn, get inspired, and take your next step. And today's conversation is one that I've been really looking forward to because it touches something I talk about all the time: visibility, specifically using your voice to build brand authority in a way that actually works. So, my guest today has spent more than 25 years behind the mic on radio and on stage, entertaining and influencing audiences around the world. He is a three-time best-selling author, international speaker, TEDx speaker, MC, and podcast host. He is the founder and CEO of Podcast Solutions Made Simple, where he helps coaches, consultants, and subject matter experts become the go-to authority in their space by launching world-class podcasts. He lives with his spouse in Gananoque, Ontario, in the beautiful Thousand Islands, where he enjoys camping and getting out on the water. Please help me welcome my guest, Carl Richards, to the stage. Hi, Carl. How are you?
Kim, I'm great. I've been looking forward to this too. I'm so blessed to be in the shall I say in the hot seat? It's hot only because it's warm outside finally in our region. But yeah, no, it's great to be here. Thank you. I've equally been looking forward to this.
I am so excited because you and I have talked podcasting for a while, but I love bringing it around and helping other entrepreneurs really find those ways to get more visible. But before we get into all of that, I would love for you, for those who don't know you, can you take us back to the beginning? And how did you start this journey into podcasting and start speaking? And what led you to building Podcast Solutions Made Simple?
Oh my goodness. Well, while I was in the womb, I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life. Okay, maybe not quite that far back, but it's interesting you mentioned this though, Kim, because I spent 25 years in radio broadcasting. I loved my career. I loved the concept of theater of the mind and being able to put your message in front of audiences. And I really, really enjoyed what I was doing. They say you haven't made it in radio though till you've been fired at least once. I was fired twice. So I guess that makes me a huge success. Between radio gigs in 2010, I was not even sure if I was going to get back into the industry. And at this time, I was in Toastmasters and was loving Toastmasters. And I
Yeah.
was competing. And somebody said, you know what, you should, with all the speaking that you're doing and you're good at evaluating and you're winning speech contests, you should become a speaker trainer. And I remember thinking, okay, I can do that. So I hung up my shingle and said, hey, I'm now a speaker coach. And like every brand new entrepreneur, I thought I would be raking in the dough, like hand over fist. And guess what didn't happen, Kim?
I
That.
get it, Carl. You don't
Um,
have to hit me over the head with that one.
yeah, I'll tell you though, I was, heart full of dreams, head full of dreams as well. But I
Yeah.
did that part-time for a while, ended up getting back into radio, and I learned the business side of radio that second go around. I was still spending a lot of time on air, but I was also learning, because I was in management and programming, I was learning about things like strategic planning, um, running a team, liaising with other departments as well, and learning the money side of the business that I didn't really know about. So I did learn about that, budgets, all of that.
Yeah.
When the
Yeah.
pandemic
The
hit in
stuff
20
that we didn't want to think about.
yeah, the stuff that's like, okay, well, and it was very good because it was really a good stepping stone into what I would be doing in my business, learning
Right.
that side of the business. When the pandemic hit, I should probably jump back a little bit because I did start a podcast in 2019 after spending 7 years trying to figure out what a podcast was. Back
Oh,
then, yeah, back then podcasts were audio only. There were like
yeah.
6 podcasts around, like nobody knew what podcasting was. So
No, no.
finally did figure it out 2019. I launched my show in 2019 rather. And 2020, when the pandemic hit, I was given the opportunity, as well as 7 other people, to do something else. So we were shown the door of the radio station for the final time, but that's when I knew it was time to pivot. The problem was there were no live stages to help people get on. So that's when I knew that, okay, you know what? This is time to start helping people who were, if you remember 2020, people were clamoring to get in front of their audiences, their clients. Like Facebook Lives were coming to life. Zoom, which was kind of a little blip on the map of streaming platforms, all of a sudden exploded with everyone wanting to have, meetings, not just for business, but even to connect with family. And
I was just going to say that connection. We were craving that connection.
Yeah, it was a huge crave that we had. Anyways, that said, that's when I knew it was time to launch the podcast agency. It started out by us doing training only, helping people, like showing them how to launch their podcasts and then them taking them over. Sounds good in theory, but there's 2 things people don't have much of: time, and in some cases, tech skills. So we realized there's an opportunity for us to help people in the podcasting space by doing all the back end work for them. And it's been an amazing journey ever since, as we've grown and expanded what we do with folks as well.
Well, and I think that's amazing, because that tech thing can really hold people back or just paralyze you, because, it seems like a really good idea. And there's probably a lot of people that should be out there and sharing their message, or, having those conversations and helping other people. I love a good podcast now. But let's talk about it. The big question I have is, why would a business owner, say a coach, a consultant, or an expert who is already running a business, actually need or want a podcast?
If for no other reason, because I said so.
That's
is that not the answer you wanted to hear?
Well,
honestly though, Kim, I would say there comes a time in your business where you need to do something different. I have a business coach who says, new level, new devil, but what you did to get you to this level isn't going to get you to the next level. And what you did to get to this level isn't going to get you to the next level. So if you're thinking that you're just going to keep doing the same thing and all of a sudden the needle's going to move up for you, that's not the case. So what tends to happen is in and around the time where, I'll say, entrepreneurs, like solopreneurs, when they are hitting that 6-figure, like that mid 6-figure mark, and maybe even above that if they have a small company under them, right, or if they're already into 7 figures, they know that if they want to do something else, they need typically visibility. And that we find is one of the things that's lacking is visibility. They might have the greatest business, the greatest products, the greatest clients, but they're the world's best kept secret. I had tuned it to, actually, speaking of Toastmasters, I had tuned it to Toastmasters because only 2% of the population really knows what Toastmasters is. It's maybe done a little bit better job now at getting its word out there. But if you're not out there saying who you are and what you do, and I'm not saying you have to be everywhere, but if you're not strategically doing it and recognizing that this is the time in my business. And by the way, this isn't year 1. This isn't year 3, typically for most people. It's usually when you're around that 5-year, 6-year, 7-year mark that you're thinking, you know what? And you probably are working with a coach or a consultant, and they're probably encouraging you. This is the time when you should be writing a book. You should be going on a speaking tour or doing more speaking, period. Not just networking and speaking in your networking groups. There's nothing wrong with that. But this is the time where you do real world speaking. You actually either invest to be a speaker or you start learning to sell from the stage. You just those kinds of things. That's also the time where you should be looking at starting a podcast, because that's what's going to take you to the next level. Because that will help you be seen as the visible go-to expert. Yeah. And if you're playing down here, if you're a big fish in a small pond, you'll always be that big fish in a small pond. You want to play with the bigger boys or girls, you got to do something else. You want to play with even bigger boys and girls, you got to do something else. So that's when you would start a podcast. And that's why I like that this show talks about, and that you talk about, visibility, because it's a huge piece that tends to be just shoved by the wayside. If we just keep doing the marketing we've been doing, or the things we've been doing up till now, we'll be fine. Yeah. Well, and
fine to an extent, but if you're really trying to grow at all, you know, I remember even starting, and I started my business networking and going out and meeting people and having those one-on-one conversations. But then, to move to that next level, you're right. My coach suggested a book. So I wrote a book, and then getting out there and having more, doing more presentations, which I was like, I don't want to do that. And having to get over myself.
Yeah.
But that's what's really interesting when you said in the beginning that you help people with the speaking. So does that go along with the podcast as well? Like, is that part of the things that you bring together as the value you bring to people? Because I can see that being huge.
Yeah, it's certainly one of the things that when I thought I put my radio career behind me and my speaking behind me, no, it's all part of it, because the skill sets that I learned in broadcasting and I've learned as a speaker, they are transferable to being a podcast host. So in broadcasting, you learn how to speak, ideally, you learn how to speak in bite-sized pieces or sound bites, basically.
Right.
If you can say it in 30 seconds or a minute, say it in 30 seconds or a minute. Very ideal for radio. But the other thing that you do learn is how to put those words together so you have impact with your audience. And that's the speaker training, or the professional stage, the stage speaking side of things, because that's where it really makes a difference. And you can tell on a looking at a virtual stage or a physical stage, the folks who have had speaker training, and I mean going beyond. There's nothing wrong with Toastmasters. It sounds like I'm bashing them or something. There's nothing wrong with Toastmasters. It's a great starting base. But when you really want to level up and speak on a professional stage or get invited on world-class podcasts, like top podcasts in the world, you need to be really, really good at your messaging. And that goes a little bit beyond what the Toastmasters program offers. But that also means that that's an opportunity for us to help people be ready, or give them feedback every so often and say, hey, your show's sounding great. Here's how I would improve it. And those pieces become very, very important for sure.
Yeah. Well, and let's talk about that. Like, what is the real benefit of having a podcast for these people? Not the surface level stuff, like the actual impact that it can have on someone's business and credibility.
Oh my goodness. How much time do we have?
I know.
Are we capped at 30 minutes? I could speak about this for hours, but I can speak from experience, but I can also share with clients that we have worked with that we have seen clients. I've seen it in myself, where I've seen speaking opportunities become available because I've been on a podcast, or somebody's heard me on a podcast. We have helped podcasters also, not help them get speaking gigs, but because of the work we've done with them, they have landed speaking opportunities. It's also led to more people in their sales funnel, and the world isn't based on funnels and all of that. But it's a piece of it. It's a piece of business. Whether or not we believe that funnels are still a thing or not, I'm not going to get into that debate, because there's a whole debate about that going around, but it's still, you need people in your pipeline. You need to be bringing in clients, your ideal clients, consistently. So in order to do that, you need to be speaking to them. So you need to be tailoring your message so that is possible. So if you have done your due diligence and you've done that work and you are positioning your content, it would be fairly unheard of to not see some kind of results from that. I'll give you an example of this. I have a coach, and her metric, because podcast metrics are weird. Let me say that. They're very weird. They're not as tangible as some of the ratings that we are familiar with, such as print or radio and television. In television, it's Nielsen's. I think maybe Nielsen's also lands in the States. In Canada, it's a completely different rating system. But those are metrics that have been around for decades that help advertise.
Those were questionable,
You survey 600 people in a city of 300,000 and say, well, this is the metric and this is who's listening. But at least you had a metric, right? The metrics in something as niche as podcasting, they are very, different. You can have a small audience of 50 loyal listeners or viewers who are tuning in every single week or every single time you drop content, and that can be bringing you business. Or you could have 5,000 and it's bringing you a little bit. So that's why I say the metrics are weird, because it's not based on audience size. Does that matter? It could. But the example I was going to give, I have a coach, and her metric was if she landed 1 or 2 clients a year from her podcast, that to her was a measure of success. And a client to this individual is worth $20,000, $30,000 a year.
Yeah. Yeah.
So therefore, and again, I don't know how many $20,000, $30,000 clients you want to work with. If you want to work with 50 a year,
Wow.
if you have the wherewithal to do that, great, go do that.
If you have the bandwidth.
For most solopreneurs or small teams, they're not working with bigger clients, a massive number. They're working with 1 or 2. A year, or 3 or 4, like a really small number. So if your podcast is on average getting 50 or 60 downloads every show, that is a good show. I always say if you can get 1,000 downloads a year, you're doing well. Now, some people would dispute that, but
no, I totally agree, because, it used to be, why would I bother? I'm not going to get the numbers, because you hear about, the big people like, ridiculous, like Alex Hormozi or Tony Robbins and stuff like that. And, it's that comparisonitis, right? Why would I do this? I'm not going to get that. It's, but you nailed it. It doesn't need to be hundreds of thousands of people to get also the right people.
I'll give you another good example of this, Kim. It's the example of, would you stand in front of 50 people if you had the opportunity? Would you stand in front of 50 people every week and speak to them? Just deliver a talk to them every week. And when you say that to people, most people say, absolutely, I would say.
Yeah.
A podcast is no different. If it were 100 people, would you do that? Absolutely, I would do that. I've spoken on conference stages and there's a couple of hundred people, 200, 300, 400. The biggest stage I've spoken in front of was 600, maybe 700 people, which is a fairly good sized stage. But again, people think of these big metrics. I need the Tony Robbins 50,000 person stadium audience for it to move the needle in my business. No, you don't. As a matter of fact, if you're aiming for that, I don't want to say you're aiming for failure, but it's almost not an unachievable goal. Keep in mind those, Alex Hormozi's, the Tony Robbins of the world, the John Assarafs, the Dale Carnegies, Dale Carnegie's passed away, but all of those thought leaders, they've done things to get them there. They didn't start there. They have done things in their life that have gradually gotten them to those stages, to those platforms where they can speak on them and they can demand a higher price to begin with, but they can also demand a larger audience. If you're starting out, if you're a solopreneur and you're making, if you're vying for that mid 6 figures or that you're at 6 figures and you want to get to 7, you can't thinking I need to stand on stages in front of 10,000 people. No, you need to stand on physical stages that get you 100 people in the room 6 times or 12 times a year and get on podcasts or host your own show. That's what's going to move the needle.
And I have to say, some of my best outcomes have been in front of a smaller group, like even a group of, 15 people or whatever. I find that you connect better. And so
I was at
it doesn't mean that the big stages won't be good.
I know we need to move on. We have a lot of things that I know you want to ask me. But I was at an event in the fall of 2025, and I knew the organizer. I knew each one of the speakers. I think there were 14 people in the room. 3 of those people were brand new to me. 3 of them. I booked calls with each one of those 3 people.
Yeah.
So
that's
huge. And all of them were, and those 3 were equally a fit to have a conversation with, to see if they were going to move forward and do something.
Imagine those are measurable stats.
Those are tangible metrics.
Yes, I love it. Yeah. But even still, like, people have to realize that kind of thing is happening on a podcast as well. And I think the harder part is that you don't necessarily see those people.
You don't.
Yeah.
And again,
Which can be good, a blessing and
it can be a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing
yeah.
because oh my goodness, one of the biggest fears still known to humans is stage fright. And if you knew you had 50,000 people listening, that could be scary. But even if you knew you were speaking in front of 100 or 200 every week or twice a month or whatever your schedule is, that can still be pretty scary unless you're ready to manage that. What I like about the podcast, whether it's video or audio, is you don't always, typically you don't see the audience. One of the reasons I enjoyed working in radio was I knew the audience was there. Mentally, I knew it was there, but physically I didn't see them. But there's another way of looking at that too, because when you're speaking to an audience, whether you're on a physical stage, by the way, here's speaking 101, whether you're on a physical stage, a podcast, a virtual stage, whatever it is, you're still speaking to that audience of one. You're still speaking
I love that you said that. I love that you said that. It's so true. Can you go into that just a little bit more?
You move the masses one person at a time, and you move the masses by making sure your language is positioned by talking to you, us, we. Use yourself in the single person. You don't refer to the audience as, okay, all you listeners and viewers out there, because they don't have a personal connection. But when I'm talking to your audience, Kim, I am directly. So if you are listening to this, if you are listening to Kim's conversation, our conversation, no, it's not just Kim's, I'm part of it. If you're listening to the conversation Kim and I are having, there you go. That's probably better English. Right. Then you are probably getting something from this. I would hope, fingers crossed. That's the you, right? That's the you. That's the personal.
And that's exactly. We're talking to the entrepreneurs. We're talking to people that are trying to grow their business. Now I want to talk about something that's near and dear to my heart, Carl. You talk about audio branding. I talk about branding all the time. I want to get into this a little bit. And I want to ask you, what are your thoughts on audio branding? Like, explain what it is, because I know that a lot of people think that, your branding is your logo and your colors and your fonts. And I'm always trying to educate people on that, that it's, more about your reputation and who you are than any of the other things.
Yes. The
colors and fonts support that. So tell me, how does audio branding come into that?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked this question, and you hit the nail on the head as far as the visual side of the branding, the fonts, colors, logos, graphics. That's all very important. But when I'm chatting with individuals, I will ask them, I'll say, what does your brand sound like?
Yeah.
McDonald's knows, da 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 da. I love it. Netflix, every time you fire up Netflix, da da, because those brands have come to understand there's, even if it's ever so slight, there's an emotional connection or a recall to them because of that sound. Yes. Every time you hear da 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 da, you just want to say what after that? I'm loving it, right? So, and then obviously, and automatically, you're thinking, you're subconsciously absorbing that information. And the next time you drive by the Golden Arches, guess what?
Da, 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 da.
Right, exactly. So why is that important? Because in such a cluttered, noisy space, with a lot of visual, I don't forget visual noise, but with a lot of that, one of the things that is very important is, how do you stand out in front? Yeah. If you are standing out in front with the same kinds of colors and logos and fonts that every other business owner has, or every other entrepreneur that is in your space, if you're a lawyer and you have the gavels or the scales or whatever it is, that's great.
But so does everybody else.
So does everybody else. And when you are doing what everyone else is doing, you do not stand out from everybody else. Your audio brand should be your signature sound. It should be that connection that people get when they hear that sound. In this case, it's in the world, the area I play in, obviously it's a podcast.
Yeah.
But it doesn't
Yeah.
have to be. It could be something that you use. That audio brand could be something that is on your website behind your videos. It could be something that you have that's playing in the background quietly, of course, when you're at a trade show or a business event. It can be something that is used to introduce you and bring you on stage as a speaker to give you more visibility.
Yeah.
There's many different applications for it, and depending on your brand, you can also tailor that audio sound. If you're, for example, if you're a B2C business, I work mostly with B2B, but if you had a B2C business, you could tailor that brand, that sound, to things that are seasonal, such as Christmas. A lot of people get, you hear sleigh
Yes.
bells and things like that around the holidays. Remembrance Day, where you might have a more the same sound, but a little bit more in memory or a somber type tone to it. So there are many different examples of how that sound can change. But even immediately as a baseline, it can mean the difference between people know me based on the sound that is matching not just who I am, but who my clients or what my clients respond and react to.
Yes. And I have David's question up here because I don't want to forget, and we will go back to it. Just 1 minute, David. But I wanted to talk about, audio branding is so powerful. It's like all the senses. Like a brand is many or full sensory experience.
Yes.
So what you hear, it's also what you smell. Like I think about when you talked about business to consumer, B2C, one of the best branding smells to me that I remember is like Cinnabon. When you go in,
yeah,
it's just rude.
Yeah.
But that audio branding
Yep.
can be just as powerful as that. Like having that little something.
Here's the power of sound. Imagine watching, pick a franchise, Jaws or Star Wars without the music. I'll use Jaws because there's an interesting fact that came out about Jaws. How many times, and again, I don't know the exact number, but how many times did you actually see the shark on camera?
Not a lot.
You know why you didn't see it? I actually know this because I'm a nerd. Because they built the mechanical shark, but they're filming in a saltwater environment, and the saltwater kept eating and destroying the mechanics. So they could only get so much filming using the actual mechanical shark. So they had to rely on what?
The sound.
Dun, dun,
and it was two notes.
That's all you needed. That's all you needed. And by the way, the same thing with Star Wars. If you remove the soundtrack, right? Remove the soundtrack, and it just looks like something's going on in space, right? It just but definitely go and watch Jaws. There's your homework.
Yeah.
Go watch Jaws and count how many times. I don't know the exact number, but count how many times you see the actual shark on camera.
I love that.
It's probably less than a dozen. As a matter of fact, I know it's less than a dozen. You might see the fin, or you might see, but the actual shark itself, I think you maybe see it 6 times at most.
I have to actually go back. That'll be my
homework. That's your homework for today.
And I didn't want to miss. David has a question, and it goes back to the podcast and doing consistent work with one podcast episode per week and using best practices. How long does it usually take on average to reach 50 to 60 downloads per week?
Oh, that's a great question, David. And again, there is no magical answer for this, but if you're, again, using best practices, you're doing all the right things, you have a marketing strategy in place, which, by the way, we help people establish. We firstly with an organic marketing strategy, and then if there's other things you need to do, great. But I would say some people hit the ground running with that number, 50 to 60 downloads. It depends on the work that you've done up front to do that. But I would say if you aren't hitting that within your first 3 to 6 months, we need to look at either the hosting site or look at the plugins, make sure everything is set up right in Apple and Spotify, and make sure your YouTube's probably connected. But I would say you should be doing that. You should be getting that within the first 3 to 6 months. We have launched clients in the time that we've been running the agency, and if they get 1,000 downloads a year, they're doing quite well. So, and again, we want more, but you should be getting 50 to 60 easily. And if you're not, I want to know the back end. I'm also going to want to call into question some of the content that's being put out there. Are you calling the audience to you consistently? I'm not saying, David, I'm not saying you're not, if you're a podcaster, but I'm going to, just based on some of my own experience, having been a podcaster, I know some of those earlier episodes I did, they weren't very good.
Yeah.
Just to be brutally honest.
Sometimes you have to give yourself grace.
Yeah.
Give yourself grace. Yeah.
And allow yourself to, be a new podcaster and allow yourself to then build from there. Now my show gets easily 50 to 60 downloads within the first week of it being launched. And that's, in some cases, that's with very little promotion. Because my team is working on other aspects, and sometimes they forget to put my show out there. So, but it's a very good question, and it is about strategy, but it's definitely about consistency as well. Also a big piece.
Yeah. Well, and I know that I told you 30 minutes, but I have a couple more questions.
That's okay.
Okay.
I'm okay. I'll just cancel my dinner reservation. No, I'm good. I'm good. I'm good for a little while longer. It's perfect.
One of the things that comes to mind, and I've chatted with some people, is they don't go forward. So what are the top reasons that people don't get into podcasting, even when they know they probably should?
Oh,
what's really going on there?
Yeah. The big two myths that I like to refer to are money and time. They think it's either really, really expensive, or they're going to be spending a ton of money on an editing team. And that's what we do. Of course, we are a team that helps people do all the back end work. But for some people, if you're starting out, you might need to bootstrap. I completely understand that. But if you can, bring on a team to do that. So money is a big one for sure. They think and the other side of the money piece is I need to open a studio, or I need to have hundreds of thousands of dollars of equipment to do this. No, you don't. You need a good microphone, a decent webcam, probably a little bit of lighting, and make sure you have a decent background. That's a given. Yeah. The second thing that really holds people back is time.
Yeah.
Where am I going to find the time? And it's not about finding the time. That's the wrong question. The question you should be asking is, who do I know who can help me do this? So that goes back to, who should I help? Who can I ask to help me get this up and running? A couple of the other things that hold people back are, the competition myth. Oh my gosh, there's so many out there already. It's still the Wild West. Yeah, it's still the Wild West though in the podcasting space. There's about 5 million podcasts globally right now, but only about 500,000 are active, and it's because of not to go down the rabbit hole. But there's this thing called pod fade, because there were podcasts that were started 15 years ago. There's still an archive of them out there that still exists, right? So there's,
but they're not making shows.
Yeah, there's inactive content out there. So don't think of it as, well, there's too many out there. Whenever I hear someone say there's too many, I'll say, how many websites are there globally? People go, well, I don't know, 11 billion. I'm like, but do you have a website? Do you feel you need a website? Same reason, right? Definitely competition content. Content's another one. What am I going to talk about?
Yes.
What am I ever going to talk about? And then the big one, of course, is tech. Another big one is tech. It's too complicated. It's too complex. I don't know how am I ever going to figure all this out? And again, I attune it to, it's the reason why I don't fix my own car. But when you need something done, what do you do? If you don't know how to do it, like, you're not going to try and figure out how to do your own dental surgery if you need, stuff done. You're going to go to the expert to have that done, right? So those are the top reasons people don't.
Is it something, Carl, that that you and your team can set up and train people to be able to do, so that once they understand and it's set up, they know what to do, and they can move forward without having a huge team?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have done, as I said, we started out doing a lot of training and doing more or less done with you as opposed to done for you offering. So yes, what typically happens though is most people figure out that after I've shown them the done with you solution and walk through it, they go, holy smokes, you should just keep doing that. We
Yes.
actually had one client who said, no, my team can take care of it. So we set them up, launched their show, phenomenal. A year later, they're contacting us because they didn't have time. They didn't have time to consistently be doing the back end work that needs to be done, because it's about consistency. I mean, Kim, there's a reason why you do this.
And that's what I was going to ask you. Yeah. How consistent do you need to be to have a podcast?
So we have worked on shows. I would say that this is the exception. We have worked on shows for agencies or specialty type organizations where once a month is okay. But typically, if you're using your show for business, then you probably want to be putting content out there weekly. And if you can't put it out weekly, if you cannot commit to weekly content, aim for at least twice a month, because twice a month means you're in front of your audience 26 times a year. And I would rather you have 26 podcast episodes than an inconsistent pattern of 3 here, and then 2 months later, 2 more, and then 6 months later, 1 more. And then you say, well, this podcasting thing doesn't work. If you can consistently do it like that, I think you're good, because the audience wants to see more of you. If you want to build that audience, build that community, build that credibility, whatever it is, you need to be in front of your audience that many times. I attune it to also, by the way, David, you're quite welcome. Glad that was helpful. I just wanted to acknowledge that. David, you're quite welcome. I attune it to, if you want to get in shape, run a marathon, do a triathlon, whatever it is, you can't just eat 3 salads and try to run around the block twice or walk around the block twice. I wish it was that easy. I've tried that route. It didn't work, Kim. I honestly, I say that jokingly.
I'm so shocked.
But you need to, like, if you want to be in the Olympics, you talk to an Olympian. That's maybe the highest extreme, but they are training 6, 8, 10 hours a day, and they're in their sport, and then they're exercising and weight training and endurance and all kinds of things. So for a podcast, maybe it's not quite that excessive, but you still need to be able to do the reps. So if the reps to be seen as the go-to expert means you need to be in front of your audience or your potential clients, your prospects consistently, that means showing up more than once every 6 months, or not twice a year would be once every 6 months. It means showing up more than once a quarter.
Yeah. Oh, right? I completely agree. Like, if you're going to do something, do it consistently. And I would have to say
the other piece too to that here, I'm sorry to cut you off, but the other piece to that is your clients want you to show up.
Yes.
Consistently.
They get used to it.
Right? So same thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, it's like the way we used to watch TV. You expected your show to come on, and it was like your friend, right? They were there. They were solid.
Depending on the show,
on them.
Depending on the show, sometimes there was a cliffhanger.
Oh,
to get you to the next episode.
I know. I have thought about that. I was thinking about that recently. Like, how do I plan ahead enough to, like, that would be my next step, is to make sure that I had all my ducks in a row. I was going to say something more crass, but I won't. But that's only because I get mad at myself for, I think of these things and then I don't do them. But that's exactly, because when I worked in advertising, we would think about those things. And they used to even make commercials that way, that like they would make them a series so that you'd want to watch, wait for the next one, when people watched media differently. But
it's true. It's true. They would, and to an extent, they still do that. They will still drop little teasers every now and again, not as much as they used to back in the day, but they still do. They'll tease you about something that's coming, and then you're like, "What's coming?" And then all of a sudden, you'll see that's what it is.
Yeah.
So and so has a new menu item, or such and such a company has a new product, or it's a brand new thing altogether I didn't even know about. Cool.
I've been doing that in email a little bit, but I need to, I think, like, you've just shook me by the shoulders again. Like, think about some of these things
Yeah.
that are
If
helpful.
if you know, big thing is if you know who your guest is going to be.
And I do.
So it's just being able to create that. It doesn't need to be a cliffhanger. It just needs to be next week. I hope you join us because we'll be chatting with Carl Richards. You ever heard of audio branding? He's going to walk you through audio branding and some other cool things that's happening in the digital media space as well.
That's brilliant. Why weren't you here last week?
I was probably working on audio branding.
A little sting.
Yeah. So, and again, it doesn't need to be much. That's my radio training too coming in, because we were quite often was said to us, can you say it in 10 seconds or less than 10 seconds? So here's a good example. A quick example that actually my program director used with me years ago. Because it's very not unheard of for broadcasters to want to talk. He would say, can you say it in a few seconds or less? I'm like, I maybe. He's like, here's a good example. Madonna's pregnant. This is going back several years. She wouldn't be now. Madonna's pregnant. I'll tell you who the father is after Vogue on such and such a radio station, and you're listening through to the end of the song.
Yeah,
to hear,
even if you hate the song,
who's the latest person that Madonna has connected up with?
Yes,
right?
Yes. Oh, that's so good. That's so good. But yeah, you're right. It doesn't even have to be cliffhanger-ish, but it's good for the guest. It's good for me.
Setting the stage.
Yeah. So if I've learned anything or been reminded of anything, that is key to me. Thank you so much, Carl. Now, beyond this, here's one for people who are not quite ready to launch a show. Other than having a podcast, how can an entrepreneur elevate their brand and start building that same kind of authority?
Oh, I have one.
I was thinking you might.
I have one, at least one. I would say if you know what, if it's not time for you to launch a podcast, there are, like I said, there's about 500,000, maybe 750,000 active podcasts out there. Guess what? There are about 100 million people wanting to be guests on podcasts.
Yes.
They bring so much information. They bring their credibility. They bring their intellectual property. They bring all of those, the things that they worked on in their entire lives. They bring that. So if you bring that, if you are looking to get your messaging out there and you're going, you know what? I don't know if starting my own show is right for me. This is an opportunity for you to be a guest on shows. And when you do it again strategically, not just haphazardly, you end up getting on the shows where it's going to make a difference. So I would say if you're brand new to testing out the podcast waters, get on as many shows as you can. Try and strategically position yourself so you're getting on the ones that make sense. So for example, if you're an entrepreneur, a business owner, I wouldn't necessarily say get on the gardening hour or the cooking show if that's not what your business is related to. If it is, great, get on those shows. There's a lot of shows in those areas, by the way, in those genres. But if your business is about, if you're a business owner, if you're a business coach, for example, there are a lot of shows out there, business strategy, podcast, business branding, business whatever.
This one.
This is a pretty good one. It'll make all the difference in the world. Here's my challenge. If you can do that twice a month, so 26 shows a year, it will allow you, again, you're starting to be seen as the expert. You're getting out there.
Yes.
It's not about whether or not you generate revenue. A lot of people think I have to generate revenue from this. Visibility isn't necessarily about generating revenue like that. It might take some time, but what it does is position you as that expert. So when there is a speaking opportunity, when a client does hear your episode with Kim Speed or whatever it is, they're going to be like, oh, okay, yep, I'm ready to work with Carl, or I'm ready to work with Kim. That's what makes a difference. The other thing it does for your visibility, I love this piece too, is we're constantly, or we should be, driving people to our website. What does it do to your credibility if you have a dedicated page, a media page that says, as seen on, or has been guests on these podcasts, these media appearances, in print, wherever it is?
Yes,
That
that's huge.
elevates your credibility, and that is huge. That's why, even though it's, at our conversation, it's 2026, people are still finding ways to become a writer with Forbes,
Oh,
because
yeah.
they know the power of the Forbes brand.
Yes.
Similarly, if you can get on shows, and again, start with the ones that are good testing waters to test your messaging, get the butterflies out of your stomach. Those are great. But then get on ones that you know are going to make a difference,
Yeah.
not only for you and the audience that you're serving, but also for your credibility and your visibility. That's where the magic happens.
And you know what? I think we're going to need to bring you back and have a whole conversation on how do you get on to other people's
We can do
podcasts,
that.
because that
I'd
is
be
a
honored.
whole
Yeah.
conversation. And that is really how I started too. So I didn't start by, saying I'm going to have a podcast. I actually started by doing just Facebook Lives and then
Right.
turned it
Yeah.
into something else. And
I'm the crazy guy who actually started by doing his own podcast.
oh, good grief.
But back then, we're talking 2018. I was trying to
Right.
launch in 2018. I launched in January of 2019. It was still very challenging to do a video podcast. So a lot of podcasts were still audio only. Audio, that was my wheelhouse, easy to do.
That's true.
Right.
That's true.
There's a few more moving parts to it now, but definitely a guesting strategy. And I say strategy because you do want to approach, whether it's you're starting your own show or whether you're guesting on podcasts, and happy to come back and talk about that, by the way, whether you're doing the guesting route or the starting your own show route, there is a strategy to it to allow you to be successful and not just spin your tires and hope and pray that somebody's out there watching and listening.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, David.
Okay,
Thank
David,
you.
fine. I'll come back.
So, okay. The question that I ask every guest, when you think of, so this is more about you, when you think of the version of yourself when you were just starting in this journey, what do you wish you had understood sooner about building your own business?
Oh, oh my goodness.
I know.
There's a good there that I knew you were going to ask this question too. I'm like, oh, she's going to ask that question. I'm going to answer that question. I would say that I wish I knew back then that it's okay to take my time and be kind to myself. I think sometimes when we're in the business startup entrepreneurial space, we want it all. We want it now. We want to prove to not just our friends and family, but to ourselves that we are successful. And man, it can never, ever happen fast enough.
Yes.
So I would say that
we put ourselves down.
But when I look back, I look where I was even 3 years ago to where I am now. Going back 6 years, I'm like, oh yeah, I used to do that. I was still on radio 6 years ago. So I look back 6 years, I'm still in my career, still running a part-time business as a speaker trainer. I go back 3 years when we really started to evolve the agency to where we are now and where we're taking it. It's night and day.
Yeah.
And sometimes I forget, and I think we all do.
Yeah.
When we're small business owners, especially, how far we've come. Even if we're not small business owners, even if we are uberly successful, sometimes we misstep and we need to take a look back and go, oh yeah, that was me. But man, look at how far I have come in such a short period of time. It doesn't even matter the period of time. Look at how far I've come.
So Carl, I have to ask you, because I know there's going to be people that want to know how to get hold of you. So I have put up a little QR code for your website, but maybe you could tell people about the best places to get in touch with you.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. The website is definitely a good place to start. You're going to find a good sampling of shows that we've created. Also, you'll find a media page of some of the shows I've been on, but you're also going to see there, if anything, if something I have said has resonated with you, reach out. There's a book a call or click to talk to Carl button or something like that on my page. Click that button. It's not going to take your bank card. It's not an auto swipe, nothing like that. Sometimes I wish it was, but it's not. But it's just an opportunity to have a conversation. I do appreciate the opportunity to find out more about what people are doing, what they're up to. If you're podcasting, if you're not podcasting, I'd love to hear from you. So there's that. Of course, yes, I am on social media. I'm on mostly LinkedIn, but you'll find me on Facebook as well. But definitely connect. And the podcast is on our website as well. So if you want to check out some of the stuff that we're doing, some of the great people we're having conversations with, give it a listen. And looking forward to meeting you and connecting.
Well, thank you so much, Carl, for sharing all your wisdom and your stories. This has been a really helpful conversation, not only for entrepreneurs in general, but I have to say for me, I've learned a few things myself, and I always have to say thank you so much for that. And you will have to come back because I don't think we had time to finish, and I've kept you here way longer than I said I would, but thank you so much.
Thank you, Kim. This was fun.
And thank you, everyone. And we'll see you next week. And you know what? I'm going to get my ducks in a row and make sure that I have the next week's guest all lined up so I can tell you. But thank you, everyone. And we'll see you next week. Take care. Bye now.